I'm sitting on the freezing concrete stoep of what used to be our damn Claremont house. I'm so angry, I'll probably end up with the piles I've just cursed the bastard with getting. I think I've got just enough battery power to type this up and get it off my chest. At 7:17 this a.m., when the movers were already a typical 17 minutes late in arriving to load the stuff and start the drive that would end in Waddedene in the Karoo, the bastard told me he had changed his mind and wasn't coming with. I kid you not. Needless to say, I went demented. Unfortunately, this was not the best way to get the bastard to rechange his mind, get him to remember that we were a committed couple, and remind him that we had been through this whole thing with a fine-tooth comb and that he wanted the change and had insisted I said yes to the contract when I thought that a job for a minimum of 3 years in the middle of nowhere might be unrealistic and out of the question. "It'll be brilliant," the bastard had said. "I'll be able to compose uninterrupted, go for long walks with Shaking Stephen, cook Karoo lamb, watch those amazing Karoo sunsets." I had wavered. "Take the job, it'll be so good for us." That's why I said yes to the position of UCT's on-site representative to assess and monitor environmental impact during the construction and implementation of SAKSPF, one of the biggest solar panel farms in the world, to be built just outside Waddedene in the Karoo. He is why I agreed, against every last fibre in my body, to leave my damp, snail and slug-infested suburban semi I had found, put down the deposit for, and spent the last 2 years panicking about, and head off to the middle of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere. The only redeeming feature of the place being that there was enough nothing to erect solar panels in it to call it a farm. While I packed our lives into boxes, including the bastard's pathetic collection of G.I. Joe dolls that I have been trying to leave behind in every place we've ever moved from, he downloaded sound editing software which he paid for online with my credit card. Twisted Wave, Wiretap Studio, Amadeus Pro. I bit my tongue whenever I wanted to blurt out that he needed to have something to edit with all these programs. Then came the story of the piano. I suggested quite meekly that I wasn't sure if it would enjoy the hazardous journey up country, nor enjoy the dryness of the Karoo, and that maybe we should sell it. Why couldn't he write his music with the fancy new software I had just paid for? I hate that damn piano. Well, that started a small war, fought with sulks and silences. So finally, I surrendered and agreed to hire the best movers in Cape Town and the most expensive ones who definitely had piano moving experience, to do the move. And they were who I was waiting for this morning when the bastard told me he couldn't go through with it and he wasn't coming with me. He told me he'd been having sleepless nights for weeks. What total cuck. I'd still been prodding him to turn over to stop his snoring just as usual. He sighed and said he'd given it a lot of thought. He thought he should stay in Cape Town, keep the house and pay off the bond. All of a sudden, he cared about the damn bond. He thought that since we hadn't rented the house to anyone else anyway, and he didn't think that my mother was up to finding a tenant for it, this was the perfect plan. There was more. He'd accepted a job doing sound on a movie, the first time in 4 years that the bastard had accepted work that up till now had been beneath him, a musician and a composer. He added, sort of last-minute-ish, that if I wanted, we could have an open relationship, and he would come up and see me and Shaking Stephen, and we could come down and see him. Only we would have to warn him beforehand if we were going to come, because his ex-band's ex-lead singer, Jenna, her 3-year-old terrorist, and Belle, his ex-cat, were moving into the house with him while her divorce went through. It had all been worked out behind my back. He'd been too worried to tell me sooner because he knew how I would freak out. Not my words.